name is Joshua from Art Scene West Gallery here in downtown San Diego, Seaport Village. Today we are here with Brandon James, local artist, one of his works being right here behind us. So let's begin. Brandon, thanks for being here.
For sure.
I've known you for a few years now. We met at Art San Diego as fellow artists. I was super impressed with your work then, and I'm super happy to have you in our gallery now. So tell us a little bit about yourself, just to start the interview.
Sure. So I've been painting since maybe 2006. I was in the Navy. I went to my first, I had my first apartment to myself, and I looked around and all the walls were bare, and I thought some art would be nice. And at the time I was into abstracts. I'm still into abstracts, but I got on the internet and I looked at some things and I found some stuff I really liked, and it was thousands of dollars, right? Actually, the artist's name was Michelle Keck, and her stuff was thousands of dollars for an original and hundreds for a print. And I looked at it and I was like, I think I can do this. And so I went to Blix and I got some Canva paper and some paint, some brushes and a bunch of stuff, and I just tried to do it. I never went to art school. I never have been told about color theory or anything like that. I just got some colors and some paints and I just started making things. And as you can imagine, they didn't look that good, but I liked them. And I felt like I was on the right path. Like I would look at it, it was obviously terrible, but I was like, hey, there's something
there.
Yeah, so let me just keep working with it. And so I developed an entire repertoire of things to do on canvas based on just looking at something and going, how do I make that? And just trying to just reverse engineer it. Having never been told any technique before, which may have set me back in the beginning, but ultimately put me ahead because I just had to create a bunch of things from essentially nothing.
You were learning yourself.
Just essentially teaching myself, looking at how the color looked and thinking, how can I make it look like that? Because if you take a palette knife versus a brush versus a hand with a spray bottle, those are all gonna look different. Right, and so I just experimented with every different way until the color looked the way that I wanted it to look. And then eventually you put these things in your back pocket and then you get a blank canvas and think, all right, this is what I want. And you kind of envision it and then go from there. So instead of, trying to copy an artist that I just love so much, I would say, well, let's take those same colors and add some and take some stuff away and then just try to make something that just comes out of my head. And then I did that for several years. And then I started putting in subjects with, like, first stencils. I would cut them out with a razor and then try to stencil it in there, and then I would try to use masking tape. And again, I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew what I wanted it to look like, right? And so this is why I go so big, is because, not because I'm brave and bold, but because it's easy to step back and look and go, oh, that feature isn't quite right. And it's obvious that the eye is too high or too low or too whatever, so then you can just go up and fix it. And so that's one of the reasons why my pieces are so big, is because it's hard to miss the delicate features of the face when they're big. So yeah, that's the short story of how I got to where I am today.
Yeah, so that's very funny because my story is somewhat similar. When I say I looked at my bedroom walls and I said, these need to change. What can we add to kind of improve my life, improve my mood, like let's experiment. And mine was a lot about experimentation. And it sounds like yours was too. You were kind of experimenting, and when I feel like got comfortable with something, you moved on, you pushed it, added on to it. And now I know lately all the work that you come out with has a subject in it. And this one, Bruce Lee, you have Muhammad Ali, Frida, Einstein. Who are these characters to you? Why are you choosing them to kind of portray in such a, like a beautiful, magnificent, really unique way?
Well, thank you. Some of these are just nostalgic for me. Bruce Lee in particular, when I was a kid, I had a copy of Enter the Dragon. And it was the only Bruce Lee tape that I had. And it wasn't even a complete tape. It was like a bootleg tape. And I must have watched that video 200 times as a kid, and so I loved it. I loved Enter the Dragon. I love Bruce Lee, so it's nostalgic. But some of these subjects, like Muhammad Ali, like I'm a bit too young for Muhammad Ali, but I think we all are. I think most people are, and so we can still respect and admire these people, even though they've passed on. That we can take their story and gain something from it, right? But it's hard to tell an entire story with an image, but that's what I try to do. I typically, if I'm painting somebody like Muhammad Ali or Bruce Lee or somebody, I would listen to podcasts or a documentary or something about them. So I'm learning about them while I'm painting them, and so it's a fully immersive experience for me to sort of revere and appreciate the things that they brought, right? I mean, what Bruce Lee did for Asian Americans, what Bruce Lee did for the martial arts community, because I also did martial arts, and I did not do martial arts before having the videotape, but I wanted to do karate from just watching that, and I eventually did get to do karate for a long time and move on into other martial arts. So there's a connection for me that is either just purely nostalgic, or sometimes it's just like Martin Luther King, you know what I mean? I've never obviously met the person, he passed away long before I was born, but the things that he did and the story that he tells and his life is so incredible that it's, for me, it's worth capturing. And that sometimes is the struggle, is like, how do you capture it to tell as much of that story as possible in just an image? And that turns out to be a difficult task sometimes. And I'm not entirely sure that I nail it every time, but it's an attempt. And I won't let a painting out of my garage until I feel good with it.
Okay. Yeah, so this sounds like it's all a journey, you know, and I really respect that you paint what you think is cool.
Yeah.
And that's where I think art thrives, is painting what the artist wants, and then it does come out to be really interesting for the viewer.
Yeah.
And so it does sound like the journey you're taking. You've been here, you're going somewhere new, and after that, who knows? Maybe you bring it all together, you know, and it's very exciting to think about, because everything you've produced that I've seen is impressive.
Thanks.
You know, you really capture the face, you know, the resemblance is right on, and there's just that edge, you know, there's that edge to it, that chaotic, which you explained a little bit in your creation of these.
A little bit of a dark chaos, but that's the way it is.
And it's cool,
you know?
and we're super happy to have it in the gallery. So, last question, Brandon.
Sure.
Tell us something about yourself, not art related, that you think we'd be interested in knowing.
Well, not art related. So my day job is that I teach biology. So that's a far cry from anything art related. You can say the sciences have a connection with art. I would agree, but of course I'm an artist. But I've always loved science, and I love art. I love science, and I like that science can be very discrete. And you know, it's not math heavy in biology, but there is some math involved, and so everything is sort of like calculated, it's discrete, it's based on data, based on your observations, and a lot of analytical thinking goes into that, whereas not a ton of analytical thinking goes into art. And so it's just two different ways of seeing the world, two different ways of interacting with the world, and I enjoy bouncing back and forth between the two disciplines.
Well, you're in a gallery, Art Scene West. We're happy to have you, and you know, we maybe have more of your work in the future.
Awesome, happy to be here.
All right, thank you very much,
Thanks,
Josh.
Josh.